your willingness to collaborate with us and support us has been like such a huge boost, because we lost a lot of partners over COVID. We didn't know what the next steps were. And just knowing that you guys had our back and you believed in what we were doing was like such a motivation, and feeling like, okay, like we have these guys on our side, we're doing good, you know?
Welcome to HenHouse Unruffled, an audio companion to the beers of HenHouse Brewing Company. Each episode, we'll take a deeper dive into each beer's concept, recipe, can art, sensory, and more with your hen host, Fridge.
What up? What's up, Unruffled listeners? It's Fridge, your host for the HenHouse Unruffled podcast. Today, my Unruffled co-host Bob and I are speaking with the incredible Remy Berger of the Santa Rosa Brewery Tasting Room, and also Derek Nielsen of the Petaluma Palace of Barrels Tasting Room, as well as Susie Dugan, co-founder and production manager for the Railroad Square Music Festival. We're going to be talking all about From the Heart, Sonoma County IPA, and the awe-inspiring 2022 Railroad Square Music Festival. We cover such topics as the intersectionality between craft beer and the music community, the importance of volunteers at music and beer festivals, as well as ice being such a hot commodity in the 2022 economy. Without further ado, let's get it going. Hanging out with a couple of HenHouse OGs here. We got Derek Nielsen from the Petaluma Palace of Barrels, beer slanger, flight attendant, whatever you all call it these days. I've been out of the game for 2 years. We also have the magnificent Remy Berger returning to the podcast. We just always love your perspective on this.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here again.
Excellent. Would you two introduce yourselves to the lovely HenHouse Unruffled listeners? I know you've been on the podcast too, Derek. I should have said that as well. Welcome back.
It's been a hot minute. Yeah, my name's Derek. I live in Petaluma, but I have lived in Santa Rosa for like a while. And yeah, I sling beer over here at HenHouse, do stuff, party.
Yeah, you do some other stuff too. You play some music, sing some songs.
I have been known to sing a tune here and there.
Very interesting. We'll have to find out more about that on this podcast.
We'll do some digging.
As Fridge stated, I'm Remy. I'm a Scorpio. I'm originally from Santa Rosa. I've been working for HenHouse for about a year and a half actually now. Worked at Beercraft for about 3 years before this. Been an aficionado of the fermented hoppy beverages since I was 21. When I turned 21, Michael's like, you're officially going to start drinking good beer. So I couldn't drink any more of the Mickey's Grenades per his demand.
Sure.
And I love it. Give me some of those riddles, and I'm having a grand old time.
100%. Yeah. Me and my hooligan friends used to get into some Steel Reserve. We weren't really Mickey's fans, unfortunately.
Gotta get some of that OE, bro.
Oh, E.
I don't prefer either of those, but Mickey's has great hand feel, you know?
Yeah.
Those grenades.
Oh, yeah.
Totally built for my personal palm.
Yeah, they're kind of like, they're glass, right? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have
Green glass.
Yeah.
grenade-esque like line in the glass sort
Little
of
bit.
situation.
Yeah.
Some of those like dimples that you get with some of those like, what is it, Bocal glass?
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, like a dimpled British beer mug too. But Pokel is also correct. We were just talking about that.
Very nice. Well, we're not here to talk about Mickey's. We are here to talk about a couple of things. We're here to talk about Sonoma County beer and Sonoma County music. We just had a rip-roaring weekend out at a couple of events, one of which was the Railroad Square Music Festival, where we did our second release of From the Heart IPA, the Sonoma County IPA, which is our collaboration with the lovely folks at RSM Fest. There it is.
The RISM.
Yeah.
RISM Fest.
RISM, I like that. Is that the colloquialism on the street?
Yeah, that's what the kids are calling it these days.
Very nice. Very nice.
Like that RISM, you know, it's based.
Awesome. Later in this podcast, I'll be talking with Susie Dugan, who is one of the main organizers for the RSM Fest. And I'm really excited to talk to her later on. But let's get this conversation going. So, Derek, you are in a band called Bad Thoughts. I know you're playing at the festival.
Yeah.
I did hear your band from where I was at the Railroad Square Music Fest, and it sounded amazing. I'm excited to get a better point of view at the festival.
For some reason, I thought we were going to play right by y'all, and I was psyched.
Yeah.
I was just like, Fridge is going to hand me all the beers while I'm on stage. It's going to be great.
I know you had to wait till after the set.
Yeah.
But we got you. We fed you some beers.
Don't worry. I had plenty of beers that day.
I think everybody did.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about Bad Thoughts, some of the other members, maybe a little bit of a quick history of the band?
Yeah, for sure. We've been a band since about 2017. The other band members include Hezekiah Donaghy on guitar, Chloe Connaughton on drums, and James Ryle on bass, all of who have been in other bands around here. We were basically just a form of we're like the ragtag, like when you're making meat like in a plant.
Oh, yeah.
And all the stuff at the end. Like we're like the hot dog of bands. You know what I mean? Like snouts and entrails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baloney.
So you take something that would have been previously unused and repurpose it to something that is absolutely delicious and beloved.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing's
ears.
wasted in the Sonoma County music scene. Every
Believe me,
part of
you're
the
absolutely
musician
right.
is used.
Yeah, and so all the other members are also Sonoma County locals. Hez and Chloe live in Healdsburg, where they work at Single Thread Restaurant and Single Thread Farm.
Shout out to Hezekiah.
Right? Yeah, Hezekiah, my boy. Me and Remy both worked with him at Whole Foods way back in the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Whole Foods fam back together
It just
again.
doesn't stop.
Quite a few of us actually now.
Now that we've mentioned Whole Foods, let's mention a couple of other accounts.
You can find our fabulous handcrafted, love-inspired ales at Oliver's Markets, Safeways, and select 7-Elevens throughout Sonoma County.
Thank you for keeping us compliant, Bob. Very much appreciated. So what type of music would you classify Bad Thoughts as being into? Or, what genre do y'all send out to the folks?
For lack of a better word, we just call ourselves Weezercore. I mean,
that communicates.
right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, what's a genre? You're like, oh, well, it's like indie post-punk. It's like, nah. When we recorded our last 2 EPs, our producer, Jack Shirley, was like, what do you guys want to sound like? And we're just like, Blue Album. Make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's our template, and then we just go from there. I mean, we don't overthink it too much, obviously, though, because none of us are good at thinking.
So you guys started in 2017. Did you get an opportunity to play the Railroad Square Music Festival that year before things got shut down in 2019?
No, we were all involved with other bands that were taking up most of our time. Bad Thoughts has never been any of our main project.
Oh, okay.
We were all part of other projects. You may have heard of their other bands like Brown Bags and Slugger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, we're the leftover entrails from those bands.
Yeah.
Now it's all making sense.
And now it's in a big hot dog.
Yeah.
Lots of mustard and ketchup on it.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I mean we didn't really start taking it seriously till a little bit before the pandemic, and then right before the pandemic, we're like, all right, let's do this. Wrote an album, and then the pandemic, and then
Wow.
and then we kept going and kept writing stuff. So yeah, I don't know. We just like kicking it, watching weird horror movies, and drinking beers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw our producer perk up at the mention of horror movies.
We just watched Drag Me to Hell right after the Railroad Square Music Festival. We all went over to James Ryle's house and proceeded to drink more beer, which may or may not have been a good choice. But Drag Me to Hell was that movie.
Oh, fucking love that movie. I'm a huge Sam Raimi aficionado and fan. Rewatching Ash vs. the Evil Dead probably for the 10th time right now, and it's just money every time I watch it. But also, Drag Me to Hell is super underappreciated. I love that movie.
I forget how gnarly it is.
It's pretty gnarly.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's brutal. I'm pretty sure the old lady that curses the main character in that movie is Aunt May from the Spider-Man films. So Sam Raimi has a penchant for bringing back people he's worked with. Pretty sure that's correct. But she is incredibly scary and awesome.
So versatile.
Yeah. And Justin Long is awesome too.
He's
I mean, Jeepers
national
Creepers, Drag Me to Hell, Tusk. The dude does crazy horror films well.
You were
Super
telling me
stoked.
about Tusks the other week, which
Yeah.
actually, like, the Ready or Not came up on our suggested movie watch list. And I'm like, I think Fridge was telling me about this.
Yeah, Ready or Not is hell good. Definitely recommend that one too. But Tusk is insane.
The female actress in Ready or Not is like, I love her. She's in this one horror movie series that's called like something Babysitter, and she's amazing. She's hilarious.
Yeah, I forget what that one's called. I watched the first one, and I know they had a sequel with like the kid. Well, spoilers: the kid from the first one survives, and then he's back in trouble again in the second one.
Yeah, good movies. We love those movies, and they're just like horribly hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome that we all have horror films, but let's keep on track here. We have from the Heart IPA. It's somewhat of a rebrand of one of our other beers. Is that correct, Bob?
Totally. This is like, I would argue, an improved upon Chemtrails. Chemtrails, which is no longer with us, was the second IPA that HenHouse came up with. Arguably the first, definitely the first rotating IPA, and the second IPA we ever got canned. So important to us as a brand, the perfect mirror image of our classic HenHouse IPA, which traditionally was described as having more new school hops and an old school malt character, whereas the beer that was Chemtrails had more old school hops and a lighter new school malt character, a bit translucent, a bit more West Coasty. And the difference between these two recipes is this has a lovely extra addition of Cascade in the dry hop, joining all the Chinook and Centennial hops that we have in there. And it's just lovely. That little bit of extra Cascade, I think, really pushes some of the orange character over the top and makes it better. If I knew Chemtrails could have been improved on like this, which was a great beer on its own, I would have been lobbying for this Cascade earlier.
There's definitely a little bit more sweetness on the back end with this one than there was for the Chemtrails, for sure.
Yeah.
Not as much like bitterness going on with like that you get from like the Illuminati that we have out right now.
Right.
It's really easy to sell this beer to people because it's like, hey, you want something a little bit sweeter but not as bitter, but still that West Coast kind of style.
Yeah.
This is an easy beer to push.
How is the clarity on Illuminati right now? I haven't had a pint of that.
Really nice and clear. You can read a
Nice.
book through that bad boy.
Love having two clear IPAs on
Right?
tap.
You should come to Santa Rosa because that's all we have right now, or at least
Really?
as of yesterday. Yeah, we went through like everything, so we only had clear beers, and it was magical for me.
That's what's up. Love when you can expect a clear beer. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, it'll still be clear, but I'm sure there'll be a bit of haze as well.
Oh, for sure.
I know MK Ultra just released this week as the time of recording, which is my favorite IPA that we make.
MK, Graham Bravey, and Language Crates.
Right.
Wait, no, MK's not clear now, is it?
No, those are all hazy.
Yeah, those are all going to be
Okay,
hazy
great,
beers.
great.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, they took
No.
the haze out of my boy.
Don't worry, hazy boys. We got you.
But yeah, the fabulous folks, Josh Windmiller from the Railroad Square Music Festival, reached out last year and said, like, we're trying to do some sort of beard thing. We can't have a fest this year. What can we do? And we said, well, like, yeah, we can brew you a bunch of beer. And the brilliant idea of slapping a QR code with an album on there, super good.
Yeah, they were unable to have the Railroad Square Music Fest, so
Yep.
they put together an anthology album
Right.
in
I remember that, yeah.
2021.
That was cool.
And it was some of the artists that would have been featured at the Railroad Square Music Festival came together, recorded at the legendary Prairie Sun recording studios.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know
Right.
of anyone else that records there?
I mean, I got a computer in front of me, but I'm going to
Yeah.
say definitely like Tom Waits has been through.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was fishing for.
That's one.
Was the QR code on this can last year? Because I feel like I don't remember it, or at least it wasn't brought to my attention.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And the QR code is still prevalent on this can. It's going to take
Yeah.
you to that free album that they recorded last year. But the whole point of this beer was to help raise money for Railroad Square Music Fest during that pause. And it definitely helped them get this one going this year. And I'm super proud of HenHouse for being involved and helping raising money during the live event. It was great to see people dancing in the square again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely missing from my life the last few years as big events like that.
My friends who are in bands hate both playing outside and during daylight. And much like the upcoming Freshtival, Railroad Square takes place outside during the daylight hours. Your thoughts? How was it for you?
It was awesome because the previous 2 days before the show were like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I woke up that morning, the day of the Railroad Square Music Festival, and it was foggy. And like people are like, it's raining in some places. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's up. But it was funny because it's like we went on at like 4:30, which was right around the time all the cloud cover started burning off, but it wasn't completely gone. So what happened is like the clouds would go, so like,
Cool.
Yeah, so it just kind of felt like I was having wild ass hot flashes up there.
Yeah.
So
But
you're
it
getting
also,
that like dappled light through the clouds.
yeah. You know what's up. But it's also a good excuse to wear sunglasses while you're playing because you really can't do that at night inside a venue because you might look like a tool.
Or cool.
Or cool
Yeah,
as
dude.
hell.
really
What's up?
cool.
Honestly, dude, like your vibe to me is sunglasses. Like I make you wear sunglasses inside for every photo you've been in on the social media account.
I know. It's a vibe. You just got to roll with it. You don't always get to choose your branding, and sometimes it chooses you.
100%.
But yeah, no, playing outside is kind of it's a mixed bag because, sometimes it's awesome, but the sound will always be a roll of the dice. Also, if you're not like having an on day, it's very obvious because most people who hear you will hear you from like around the corner.
Right.
And, so they're like, most people will be able to tell these guys are blowing it from like very far away. So you got to be like you think playing outdoors, you can like be a little loose and sloppy, but it's like the opposite. It's like, no, we got to kill it because 90% of these people can't see us. They can only hear me and my cracky voice and my slightly out-of-tune guitar. So yeah, you got to be like way on top of it.
Right.
Do you have any like pre-show rituals? Because I remember when I did choir when I was younger, our teacher was like, "You're not allowed to have any dairy the day of. You can't have any yogurt day of because it causes you to be phlegmy, and so like you can't like hit those notes in a certain way." And so I've always been curious, like people in a band, like because some people are like, "Oh, I don't wash my underwear the week of," or something really gross like that.
I know people do that, but that's also just because that's how they live their life. Like, yeah.
Perfect, cool, awesome.
They're like, that's my quote unquote ritual, aka
My life
just
ritual.
who I am. Yeah. I don't eat anything before shows. I don't like to go on stage feeling bloated.
Girls, same.
You know what's up. I think and that stems from a traumatic experience when I was the pianist for the Maria Carrillo Jazz Choir, and we played this huge fest. The choir won like first place, and I had to sub in on piano at the last minute, and I did not know any of the songs, so I was like, all right, I'll just sight read this. But then I saw the crowd right when we were about to go on stage, and there was like a couple of thousand people, and I was 16, and I had just eaten so much Taco Bell, and I looked at my teacher, I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and just gripped my insides, and she's like, are you serious? I was like, I gotta go, and I just started sprinting down the hallway, and I was just like pushing like moms and grandmas out of the way, like George in that episode of Seinfeld. And it was just, my body was like, evacuate. So that kind of traumatized me from eating anything before shows. So yeah, that's my thing, Remy.
Good ritual.
Wow. Yeah, I like it. That's smart. I mean, I remember back in the 7th grade, I was in this musical at the Guerneville Elementary, and it was called Don't Say No to the USO or Squad Room Blues. It was one of those. But the night before, I ate some pizza from a local pizzeria in Guerneville, who shall not be named, and unfortunately gave me food poisoning. I was the lead. No
understudy.
No understudy. Thank you. Available. So you know what they say, the show must go on. So in between takes, I was drinking Alka-Seltzer and praying that nothing would come out of Little Fridge on the stage. And we made it through the show. And they're like, hey, everyone, great job. You guys want some pizza? And then I had to go run to the bathroom, throw up, and say, Mom, take me home.
Oh, mini fridge.
Maybe just don't
mini
eat
fridge. Get it done.
Maybe just like don't eat anything for like 12 hours before your show. I like that. That's a good ritual, Derek.
I didn't think of it. My stomach did. It's funny though that whole like don't drink lactose or like milk before you sing. It's like I know like punk and hardcore singers who like it's the opposite. They're just like, yo, I drink like a gallon of half and half before shows because it actually like adds some like
vibration.
Yeah, like some residual like crust inside the vocal cords.
Yummy.
It's like helpful, like a little extra padding because they really beat the crap out of their larynxes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the Railroad Square Music Festival, getting able to participate and help with that, I think it's something I'm so privileged to see a lot of in the company. Is I I personally, along with Fridge, we personally get to see a lot of the great works that HenHouse does for its community. I'm staring or looking right over Jarek's shoulder, and I'm seeing our mission, creating wealth for our community, and being able to participate in all of that. We started off this podcast recording with a lengthy airing of grievances on my part. My inbox is delivering me nothing but eye rolls and brow furrowing email topics. But then I look at all the good we did this weekend, all of those folks who recovered from Beer Fest, the good one, supporting the fabulous face-to-face organization. And then we rolled that goodwill, and more beer-loving Santa Rosans rolled in to downtown Railroad Square, and we got to keep on partying. Like, everyone's getting to get back together, and without people getting together, it's tough for beer to be super charitable. But if you can have a charity party, we can bring the sauce to that party and just really make the whole thing pop off. When I get an email that just makes me want to start swearing, I just think, oh, this is a little aggravating, but we did help like raise $75K for people fighting AIDS last weekend. So that's, what I can put up with 3, I'm going to go ahead and say it, stupid emails. I can put up with it because a lot of my job and the work of me putting up with these annoying emails allows me to play my part at HenHouse and then see this incredible end result. Whether it's a fantastic West Coast-esque IPA right here from the Heart, which is so good, and I've been waiting for this to come back for a year. I was so impressed with how it was last year. Get to drink this beautiful beer and see us have a really great impact on the community.
Yeah.
And
both
that keeps me putting on pants every day.
HenHouse
coming out of my house
beers
doing shit.
And ice were hot commodities this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This guy, living up to his name, the Fridge, keeping it so chill.
That's what I
He
do.
attends one famously well-organized event who, like everybody, is rusty. Whether you're rusty at producing events or rusty at just putting on shoes and walking out of your house and being near other human beings, we're all relearning these crucial skills. Fridge used his years of experience and said, I think I see a disaster coming down this track. I'm going to reach out to the organizers, and I'm going to take time out of my day to try and fix this. Delivered a huge crap ton more ice with our coworker Corey to first Beer Fest, the good one.
True.
Literally saving that fest because, folks, it is not about beer being cold and delicious and refreshing. Purely about physics. If the beer is warm, you cannot get it out of the keg. It will not come out. You have a so much bigger problem than whether anything tastes good or is actually worth putting to your lips. There will be nothing. So
that's draft technology day one, folks.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Foam is not as tasty as the actual liquid product.
yeah.
And, you say it all the time, Bob. In the craft beer community, it is about helping the community, helping each other out. And you brought it up at first, got me really thinking about it. I got worried. It was 90 plus degrees that day. And, you have all these people showing up in the hot weather, expecting a great time, expecting to drink cold beer on a hot day.
Excited to be back at the good one after a couple of years.
Yeah, and they're helping raise money for a great cause. It's the least that a Fridge could do to reach out and be like, hey, could you call up, this big box store, ask them if they'll give us more than 2 bags of ice per member like they are doing right now.
Right.
And I'll happily go get it. We got this refrigerated van, this sweet merch mobile that young Axel drives around on the regular.
Shout out to Axel.
Shout out to Axel.
Man.
Sir Francis Drank.
Dude's a goat.
100%.
Our man on Mount Tam.
Yeah.
I just love his nicknames, and I also love that guy.
Absolutely. Smooth Bob, some people call him.
Yeah, no one's called me that ever.
I haven't
got
heard that
Big
name
Bob.
in years.
But yeah, we fired up that refrigerated van and brought the ice back to the fest, and it felt good. Making sure people were able to pour beer, making sure people were able to have a good time when they're showing up and supporting a great cause. It's the least we can do.
Yeah, and then repeating the whole thing for Railroad Square. And holy cow, they went through a keg or two, did they?
Yeah. We showed up initially with 16. All of them got tapped by 3 o'clock, by 3:30. So I was like, oh boy. One of our lovely wholesale department team members was enjoying the fest. Let me know we had an abundance of stoked. So if we could get somebody to the brewery to get more kegs of Stoked, figure that out, and at the same time pick up more ice because
Right.
the clouds did, as you say, they started to separate a little bit later in the day, started to get a little hot. That sun beating down, the ice is gonna melt. So we got more ice, we got more kegs. My buddy Trevor, shout out to him. He's the father of my sheep in my backyard. He owns them. He's not actually the father. That'd be another horror film. Shout out to Trevor for driving me around in his truck and helping me get all that stuff. And shout out to all the volunteers at both events that I went to this weekend for, spending their day off helping people raise money for nonprofits.
Honestly, shout out to all volunteers at all beer festivals. When you and I went to the Pines for Paws a couple weeks ago in Berkeley, as soon as you parked the truck, everybody just swarmed us, just ready to help. And it was so nice because it would have taken us 20 minutes probably to get everything out of there, and they got out within 5 minutes.
That was so amazing. I honestly, I've been going to festivals for so long, and I haven't seen a more well-oiled machine than the Pints for Paws setup was. Those people were ready to help. I think it has something to do with the fact that dog people are great people.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
we had these wonderful volunteers at Pints for Paws a couple weekends back, and man, they really helped get our stuff set up quick.
Yeah.
Which was great.
And move it 30 different times that we had to.
And just having you out there and Ricardo helping us pour beer.
Shout out to Ricardo for sure.
Yeah, that was great. He's a local of the area that
Yeah.
we were at, not too far from Rare Barrel over there.
Yeah.
And that was great, man. Seeing all those dogs running around at a fest, it's unusual.
Until I got peed on.
Well, yeah, that does happen.
At least it was at the end of the event.
Yeah.
It ain't a dog fest unless you get a little pee-pee on you.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
I always say that.
I always.
Yeah, my father told me that on my 18th birthday.
Oh, wonderful. That's some great life advice, Derek.
Put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "Son, listen." You can fill in the rest. I also want to give a shout out to all the volunteers at the Railroad Square Music Festival because honestly, I'm used to playing just scummy punk houses where you show up and no one knows what's going on. And everyone at Railroad Square Music Festival was awesome and put us where we needed to be, moved all my heavy gear, and gave me lots of beer. So that's as a musician, that is the dream come true. It's someone's going to move all my gear and put beverages into my body. Why else am I doing this? So yeah, thank you for everyone who worked at festival because it's a thankless job working those kinds of gigs.
For sure.
People only notice if you're doing it wrong. It's true.
So true.
It's not often enough are people given affirmation for the work that they've done, and maybe we can help make up for that right now and just say thank you so much to all of the community who came together to make awesome festivals this weekend in June.
Yeah, the vendors, the food folks.
The food was so good.
Yeah, it takes a ton of people to pull all this stuff off. I mean, also the porta potty people.
Big shouts.
Thank you all so much.
Honeypot.
Literally couldn't do it without you.
Big ups.
Would hate to imagine doing it without you.
Big shouts for those big shits. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I had to go there. Oh. Awesome. Yeah. Anybody have any final remarks that they might want to say?
I also noticed that a lot of the people who worked at the festival also happen to volunteer or work at Prairie Sun Studios. So if you are a musician who, is looking to record your first record, or if you're a seasoned vet who, is just, in the game, go check out Prairie Sun. They do good stuff. And, it's just a good time.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So hold on. So this used to be Chemtrails, right?
Mm-hmm.
This From the Heart IPA. So
basically,
it's really funny when people ask me what From the Heart is. They're like, "What's the From the Heart IPA?" My short answer is, "Do you remember Chemtrails?" And everyone, 100% without fail, goes, "Oh, I remember that beer." And I'm like, "Yep, that's this beer." And people are very happy about that.
Yeah, excellent. It's perfected, and the Chemtrails thing, like a handful of things, pretty fun a few years ago.
Not as fun these days.
Maybe not as much fun anymore. Look for us having even more fun with conspiracy beers, but ones that people don't get, threatening about. scary about.
We like to keep our conspiracies fun.
We do. It's cool to be thoughtful, and it's cool to take a stand and take a stance, and it's cool to even be like thought-provoking with some of our beers, but we still want to keep things fun, survivable.
I tell people all the time, they're like, how come you don't make this beer anymore? And I'm like, we actually do make that beer. It's just now under this name. It's unfortunately, like, as times have changed, we have to change as well, and so we still make it, but it's just under a different name, as we mature, our beer names mature with us.
100%.
Constantly maturing here at HenHouse.
It's like, once you know better, you do better.
All right, Unruffled fam, we have the co-founder and production manager of the Railroad Square Music Festival on the line, one Susie Dugan. Thank you so much for joining us on Unruffled, Susie.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Would you mind introducing yourself to the lovely listeners of Unruffled?
Of course. My name is Susy Dugan. I have been in Sonoma County for about 10 years and landed directly in this awesome music scene as soon as I got here. I love it. And, jumping back and forth from both coasts, making things happen. And I love bringing attention to the North Bay because we're popping off.
Hell yeah, we are.
Oh, yeah.
What an event this weekend. It was so amazing yesterday at the Railroad Square Music Festival.
It sure was.
And you and I actually used to work together back in the day, too, at Commie Mart. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like a whole lifetime ago now.
It does.
Look at us now.
And I was in the deli.
Right. I was right on the other side of that window pouring the beers. Let's talk a little bit more about the Railroad Square Music Fest. How did you get involved? How did it start? How did you start the festival?
Well, Handcar Regatta used to be there, and I don't know how many years they were active, but that was another, I think it was free. Maybe they charged, near the end, but free event in Railroad Square. And then there was a dead year where they left and there was nothing going on. And then the following year, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 2 years after they ended, Josh came to me because I was working at the Arlene Francis Center for a while. That's how I landed in the scene. And I was helping them kind of start their cafe and get organized. And so I was helping Josh with his North Bay Hootenanny events at the AFC. And
that's Josh Windmiller you're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other co-founders.
Mm-hmm. And so he would come in and he was really great at booking and getting the acts and revving everybody up. And then I did a lot of the organizing and planning and stuff for his events. I missed the North Bay Hootenanny, but so when he came to me and said, hey, I think there's a big opening, nobody's jumping on it. And it was 3 months before the date that he wanted to do it. And usually, you have like 6 months of planning for something like this. And it was just he and I together for the first time. And I started as the volunteer coordinator amongst other things. And but he and I started it in 2015 and then brought in a big team of people after that.
Yeah, it's certainly grown over the years. And I know the Railroad Square Music Festival has been awarded like best live festival, like outdoor festival from the Bohemian. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome.
Every year since we started, actually, I think.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
now these days you're production manager, so you're organizing people like Derek, is that correct?
Hey.
Well, I
need a lot of organizing, so I thank you for
that. Before COVID, I was a full-time audio technician and like freelancer, so I would do anything kind of concert related. And production managing was part of that. And currently I'm working for a national production company called Sound Image. And so I'm in the East Bay half the time now, and my job here is keeping people organized. I do a lot of billing and payroll, but I still gig at night and on the weekends.
That's awesome. Wait, so Susie, are you still involved with the Arlene Francis Center?
No, I left in like 2013 or 14.
Because that's where I first met you. I remember because I was in this band called the Illuminarly. Josh would always put us on like random North Bay Hootenanny shows over there. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember you guys. You were great.
Those are some wild years.
I actually remember watching the Illuminarly at the Arlene Francis Center when I was 20. When I was, because I remember because Michael and I had just started dating. I wasn't able to drink alcohol yet, so he was drinking a beer in front of me like a dick. And I was watching you guys because you guys were my coworkers. You and was it Chris?
Scott.
Scott, and then somebody else. Yeah. And just watching you guys play there, and I'm like, that was the first show I ever went to, the Arlene Francis Center. I thought it was just such a cool spot. And Frankie Boots and the County Line were there right before they blew up and moved out the area.
Frankie Boots is incredible.
Yeah, I think that's just such a cool space. Yeah, it's such a cool space.
And there's been so many great shows all throughout the county that I've seen you working your audio magic at, Susie. So thank you for all the years of hard work to bring the music to the people.
Thank you. It is hard work, but I love doing it.
Yeah, it seems like insanely hard work, so I really appreciate it. One of the things I was mentioning on here before you came on the podcast was that as someone who has played a lot of, festivals to just random scummy house parties, it is amazing when I show up at an event and all the people working the event are super happy and super eager to help me make my life easy because I'm like to the point where I'm not used to it. So yeah, I just want to give you props for putting together an awesome team on that front.
Oh, thank you so much. And I've been hearing a lot of that, that it was just really easy for everybody, and it made the vibe really good because everyone was happy and they weren't like overworked. I think that comes a lot with like spending so much time in the industry. I know what I like to walk into, so I want to give that service to everybody around me. So no, I'm really glad that you feel that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was quite a smooth machine. Like everything was well oiled and things were working out great. I was just on the bar side of things, and over there, one of the organizers, Ben, was just such an incredible asset to everyone and working so hard and just staying positive. And man, people were having a great time at that event last night.
And, I don't want to take all the credit, like I try to make it easy on the musicians and the sound crew and stage crew and stuff. But there's a ton of organizing that Josh did, and Steve, the volunteer coordinator, and Bryce Dow Williamson. They were doing more like the ops side and the audience experience, and also like the fundraising and stuff. So the organization came in from the whole team.
Excellent.
Susie.
And Ben. Yeah, Ben's awesome.
I had a question for you. So you're a person who obviously puts on a lot of events. When you have like 3 months to 6 months of like just nonstop organization, like logistics, doing all this stuff, and then the day of, what's your vibe? Like, how are you feeling when you just watch all that, like when you watch every domino that you've set up just get knocked over? Like what's the vibe for you?
Well, I keep going back to like, I'm very mission oriented. Like I got into concert production largely because I always need something to do. And so when things are happening and things are going well, I'm looking for the next problem. I'm like, okay, everybody's happy. You're all good. Everyone's smiling. Okay. And I go and I look for the next possible issue. And I'm not able to stop and rest until the show's over. But when I can look at everything moving, it's the happy people. It's the happy musicians, the happy people that makes me like, that's the vibe that I get is like, I don't stop working until the show's over, but I know everything's good and it keeps me going when I see everybody having a great time.
But that's like what makes a good manager and a good organizer is just constantly like thinking about the what ifs and like the next step that something could go wrong. And if something does go wrong, this is how I'm going to fix it. So like that's just super awesome that people like you have that kind of viewpoint for an event like this, because not everybody can think like that. I've been to events where it just was very poorly planned, and there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that nobody thinks about. And the fact that you are sitting there and actively thinking about that is just so kick-ass, and is just like what makes events so great is people like you behind the scenes, just having all of these possibilities and having a backup plan and some way to fix those problems if they ever occur. So that's super awesome.
Cool. And also talking to people, like I'll stop and, the lines were really long at the bar, which is typical for a festival, but I stopped and I was like, man, what can I do? So I started talking to people. I was like, how's it going? You know, like, how are you feeling? They're like, yeah, I mean, the line's not so bad, but man, standing in the sun isn't fun. And so like we went out and got some pop-ups and like, so, and it's not just fixing potential problems, but improving people's experiences and getting feedback from people too.
That's how everything gets better all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keeping your eye on the prize and keep improving when you can. That's what it's all about. What would your like perception of the event overall be, Susie? How do you feel about everything?
Huge success.
Awesome.
We love to hear that.
I mean, it's free festival. So, I mean, a lot of the staff, including myself, we put in a ton of volunteer hours to make it happen. So, like, when I say huge success, it's not necessarily, we always make a little bit of money to put into the bank for next year. But it's not like anybody's patting their pockets and walking away loaded from this thing, you know, but as far as
that's
our
why
goals,
you get the music.
Absolutely. We hit the mark on everything this year.
That is awesome. You know, I'm incredibly proud of HenHouse and the team for being able to be a sponsor for this local event that means so much to the community, and to make this incredible IPA, the Sonoma County IPA from the Heart. Can we talk a little bit about last year when we were conceiving this beer, and maybe a little bit about the album that you helped put together?
Sure, be happy to.
Susie, really quick, this is Derek. I have to jet, but it was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for everything you did at that fest. You guys crushed it this year. It was super fun.
Thank you. Thank you for playing. Your band was awesome.
We had a great time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we were super stoked on this beer. I remember last year, people, you know, obviously everyone was dealing with the pandemic at its height, and it was sad that events, you know, had essentially gone away. And how did this album idea come into play? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So Prairie Sun Live is the audio company that we have been working with for the past 4 or 5 years. And they are the live branch of Prairie Sun Recording Studios. And I also work with Prairie Sun Live. So I was at the property a lot, and everyone was like, you know, looking for things to do, looking for ways to kind of invest back into the community and do it in a safe way. And so Prairie Sun came to us, Railroad Square, and said, hey, we had this idea. What do you think? And we jumped on it real quick.
Oh, yeah. Again, just like super stoked that HenHouse got to collaborate with you at Railroad Square Music Fest and those at Prairie Sun to release this beer with the QR code to that free music, a sampling of Sonoma County musicians or Bay Area musicians that might have been at the Railroad Square Music Fest if it was permitted at the time. And also, I just want to say like a big shout out to Richard Powell too for creating an incredible label. Like this one really does stand out. It's a really beautiful label that gets people interested in it, and you know, the power of beer to put things in front of people is super important. And shouts to Richard for doing that. He's great.
He's across the board. I feel like everything that Richard creates as a designer is amazing. We absolutely love him.
That's what's up. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share about Railroad Square Music Fest, from the Heart IPA? Anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, the beer is great, and partnering with HenHouse on and you guys having our back, we're just like so extremely grateful. You all are such a great group of people, and your beer is amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I worked at Lagunitas for 5 years and developed an allergy to something in IPA because I think I drank too much of it or something. And so I can only drink a little bit of IPA, but I have drank from the heart as much as I can, and I love it. And I mean, your willingness to collaborate with us and support us has been such a huge boost, because we lost a lot of partners over COVID. We didn't know what the next steps were, and just knowing that you guys had our back and you believed in what we were doing was such a motivation, and feeling okay, we have these guys on our side, we're doing good, you know?
Absolutely. You know, like you said about yourself being mission oriented, I think we try to take that approach as well. And part of our mission is to build wealth for the community. And, you know, what better way than to support the amazing musicians and artists and just incredible hardworking individuals like yourself. So super proud to be a part of the company and be in your company as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the album was kind of what started well, actually, back in when we were planning the fest for 2020, you guys were going to be our beer sponsor.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And then the album was, what brought us together again, which music has a tendency of doing. And that album, just touch on it briefly, listening to it is people had so much time alone and to work on art, and there's so much emotion from lockdown and everything, the last few years. And the music on there was never heard before. It had never been performed or recorded. They were all brand new songs that people wrote during COVID. And I listen to it all the time. I mean, even talking about it gives me goosebumps. It's a beautiful album.
That is awesome.
That's what I love about music and beer. I'm the supervisor tasting room of our Santa Rosa spot. And I get people coming in all the time oh, I don't like this style of beer. Don't judge me. And I'm like, well, no, beer's like music. You like what you like and you don't like what you don't like. And that's perfectly okay. I think it's just important to remember that, it's music is such a big part of people's lives and it's always been. I mean, you go back to Neanderthals and stuff and you see that music's always been
my people. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No. But it's awesome to keep music in the community and bring, light a lot of the arts and stuff. And I think that's what's really great about this beer and our art forward and just making sure we're supporting the local artists and making sure that art and music are still a really big aspect of people's lives.
Absolutely. The paths certainly cross with craft beer and the local music scenes around the community. And as our friend Brian Hunt from Moonlight Brewing Company would say, drinking fresh beer is like listening to live music. And that's actually written on the side of this can here, this beautiful can I'm staring at. And I think it was just wonderful to see everyone coming together, dancing in the square again, enjoying fresh beer, enjoying fresh tunes. And, for those that couldn't make it to the event for whatever reason, be they have autoimmune disorders or anything like that, to be able to buy this beer and still support the cause and be able to listen to the music that is literally from the heart of these musicians that is available to them. I think that's just wonderful. The whole thing makes me, a little emotional, gotta say. And it's really great to see things come back together.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps.
Awesome. Well, I think that is just wonderful. I really appreciate your time coming on the podcast with us today. Thank you so much, Susie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the call and all your hard work. Fridge, I see you at so many events and such positive energy, and you always really bring these good vibes, and you're always bringing the party, and what you do is from the heart too. So I appreciate you and thank you for having me. And Remy, very nice to meet you. I look forward to meeting you in person.
It was wonderful to talk to you. I can't wait to meet you in person as well.
Thank you so much, Susie. That was really sweet, and I will definitely keep that in my memory banks to make me feel good. You're awesome.
I think it's pretty easy to say that most of Sonoma County loves you, Fridge.
Well, I love the Railroad Square Music Fest. I love all of you fine people, and I love this beer, and I love you if you listen to this podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
HenHouse Unruffled was created by Anna Scott. We record at HenHouse Brewing Company's Palace of Barrels in Petaluma, California. Our producer is Brian Henderson, and our associate producers are Josh Staples and Fridge. The music you've been listening to was written and performed by our San Francisco account rep McLean from his album Speechless and Speechless 2, which you can find on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, and anywhere one finds dope music. If you have a question or comment about this or any episode of HenHouse Unruffled, please let us know by calling 707-347-9425 to leave a message. You can also send an email to podcast@henhousebrewing.com. For more information, visit www.henhousebrewing.com or stop by one of our Bay Area tasting rooms. The voice you've been listening to is Imani Russell Black. Please listen and drink responsibly.